Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to World This Morning. I'm your host Hajra Sati and joining me is my wonderful co-host Ahmed Nawaz. Assalamu alaikum Ahmed. How are you doing today?
I'm very well. Thank you very much. Hajra gave me a long weekend. So I had a time to relax and obviously Shahzad Bhai was back and now he's once again on those very important duties, sports related of course. It's good to be back as well, and then again whenever you come in the morning and you see one of your co-anchors doing this bunch of authentic research, it really brightens up your day. So I'm very well and I'm hoping for a great show today.
Yeah, Jazakallah. Thank you so much for saying that, but we make sure at the PTV that we put in a lot of effort and it's authentic when it goes out to the screen because we believe in the responsible journalism. Right, Ahmed?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have seen that there is a movement going around in the world, especially the movement regarding the rights of the nature, right? How should we protect the ecological systems, the rivers? And then there was a very interesting fact that people actually had a funeral for an the glacier melting in the Iceland, and they mourned that funeral and there was a eulogizing that funeral, etc., and they wanted to build awareness regarding that and how climate change is affecting us and how the glaciers are melting. Why am I talking about this subject? Because I do believe that Pakistan has the Himalayas, which has the largest, I think the third largest snow caps here, and it is known as the third pole because of the amount of the ice that we do have. And we have seen, Ahmed, how the flooding has impacted us, how the glaciers are melting, and how these, the rise in the global warming and the temperature is affecting us. So they talked about that how there's an ecological grief, the term that they coined, and they want to grieve that because after grief there comes the sense of the guilt, that how we are exploiting Earth's resources at such an exponential pace with so much greed, and we are not looking after ourselves, our future generations when it comes to that, right?
Absolutely. I think it's all on us. The onus is on us, and that's why we need to act, all of us, responsibly, especially Pakistan, a country which is most vulnerable to climate change as well. On that note, we've got some updates to share with you as well regarding our top stories. Let's go take a look at that and then of course discuss them further. First of all, we know that the UN Organization on Climate Change, because we are talking about that and mitigation strategies, the COP27 has announced Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif as the Vice President of the forum. Pakistan has been honored on this prestigious COP27 forum. Prime Minister has been honored out of 195 member states of the United Nations. Egypt is the current president of the forum. The President Abdul Fattah al-Sisi has also extended invitation to the Prime Minister to jointly preside over the COP27 meeting.
Okay, and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, Norwegian President and Egyptian President will jointly preside over the meeting, and the conference of the parties will be held at the Sharm el-Sheikh. I think this is a very prestigious moment for us because I think Pakistan is best suited for advocating against the climate change because we are the worst affected when it comes to that, right? And world is witness to that.
Yes.
So, and moving on to another interesting top story, it's about at the inauguration ceremony of the third pole block 2. The foreign minister said that Pakistan-China economic corridor is a game changer for Pakistan. While speaking on the occasion, Chinese ambassador Long Rong said China values its ties with Pakistan and that China will continue to support Pakistan. He expressed satisfaction over the progress of CPEC as projects are being completed in time. While Chief Minister Murad Ali Shah said the third pole will brighten up all of the Pakistan, he said the government of Sindh worked tirelessly, spending $750 million to build infrastructure.
That's very interesting. The Prime Minister also met a couple of women as well on the project who were actually contributing the most when you talk about the field of dump truck drivers, and the Prime Minister inquired about their job and their profession. It was very interesting. But Hajra, we do know that the month of October is very, very special, especially in Pakistan now. It's celebrated as Pinktober, and there is a lot of awareness. And for that fact, of course, we're going to be discussing about breast cancer awareness in Pakistan and this movement that we call Pink Ribbon, because I think that it's made a definitive difference. At least we've started talking about it now. So that's why it's very important to understand where this cause all started from. And for that, we're very honored to be joined by today in studios by the founder and the CEO of Pink Ribbon, Mr. Omer Aftab. Assalamu alaikum, sir. How are you?
Thank you very much.
Sir, great to have you on the show. Of course, there's a lot of insight that we want to have, but I think the first question boils down to the subject itself of why did we feel the urgent need, you yourself, that look, there needs to be a movement on a national scale to actually talk about this subject, let alone, work on it religiously.
Unfortunately, Pakistan has the highest rate of breast cancer in whole of Asia. Every 9th woman in Pakistan is at risk of breast cancer. That means that more than 10 million women are at risk of breast cancer in Pakistan, which is a very, very alarming situation. On the other hand, breast cancer is the only cancer which can be diagnosed at early stage, and if it's diagnosed at the early stage, the chances of survival are more than 90%. Whereas we saw women coming to hospital reporting with breast cancer, 70% women they report third stage or more than that. So the whole concept of the campaign was and is to aware women about early detection and how they can save their life from this deadly disease.
Okay, and do you feel, sir, that you are successful in your objectives in raising awareness and destigmatizing this very concept of the disease, which is so much deadly, but it is a preventable disease, right, when it comes to the early detection? So what's your response on that?
Well, for almost initial 10-12 years, it was very difficult to talk about it. Even when we started our campaign, when we launched it, all the TV channels, they blacked out. They said that we can't take this B word on television. That's how we started. And even going in the communities and at the grassroots level, at the family level, at every level, talking about this issue was always a very, very big issue. I think the success of the campaign right now, especially for last 3-4 years, is that at least now this topic has come on the national health agenda, and at least we have started talking about it. It is a big issue, and the burden is so big, we have to go a long way, but at least we have started talking about it. Another very unusual situation regarding breast cancer in Pakistan is that globally the average age of breast cancer is 55 years.
Okay.
We see that in Pakistan, unfortunately, the average age is 35 years.
Why is that so?
And let me add one thing more, that
Sure.
even we are now in last 3-4 years, we are seeing young girls being diagnosed with breast cancer in their 17, 18, 19 years. Why? Up till today, we don't have any one particular reason that why it's so, but generally some studies suggest that whatever we are eating, lots of genetically modified food, lots of chemicals and pesticides in our food, the steroids used, for example, to get more milk, the steroids used to grow the chicken, and these things, they are definitely affecting the human health, and especially the female health. They create hormonal imbalance in young girls, and with hormonal imbalance the estrogen levels are affected, and estrogen is directly linked with breast cancer.
Very important, sir, that you talk about the social aspect of this, and I think it's still a big setback or a big hurdle that we need to overcome to actually talk about this. So obviously the role of this entire process of the awareness, Hajra, does not only fall on women as well, but even the men of the house, even the male segment of society that needs to be involved in creating awareness, making sure that simple steps are taken for early detection, and that taboo is eliminated, sir. So how important has it been to have a structured approach on the national level as far as institutions or organizations are concerned?
Well, our model has been always a public-private partnership. We have been working with the government at all levels. For example, we are partners with the Higher Education Commission, and with Higher Education Commission we go to more than 200 colleges, universities across Pakistan every year. You must have seen that for last few days PTA has supported, and the ringtone has changed. And also we need to see this in a holistic way. We need to look at it from starting from prevention, then early diagnosis, then the treatment, and then the access to healthcare. So for prevention, for example, we are advocating with the government for now a few months that there are some chemicals and additives and preservatives which already FDA has banned because they are cancerous. So we are talking with the food authorities to ban them in Pakistan as well. Then we are talking with the Punjab government, and they have agreed to start one-stop breast clinic in all the teaching hospitals. We have already started one in the services hospital in Lahore. We are talking with the KP government, and they have agreed to put mammogram facility at all the district headquarter hospitals. So we need to see it in a. We don't want to just create a scare in our society. Yes, it's a very alarming thing. Another, I think this year our campaign is focusing on Become a Better You theme. It's talking about healthy lifestyle.
Okay.
Because now the studies show that 40% risk of breast cancer and cancer can be reduced with lifestyle change. And it means that eating healthy diet,
Right.
doing exercise and physical activity, and mental health.
Okay.
These three things can reduce the risk of breast cancer.
Okay, so coming back to the mental wellness aspect of the breast cancer awareness, and certainly yesterday we had the mental wellness entire day dedicated to it. So I know a woman who has been through the chemo process, and because she was diagnosed with the breast cancer, and she told me that and she was going through that chemo process, and there was an entire identity change in her body. Of course, there is a physical change. Of course, that reflects in her identity. And she told me that you have a very lovely eyebrows, and I said that I never noticed that, and that's because this is a nemat of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and we are never thankful for that, because we take it for too granted when it comes to that, right? So in West we see there are a lot of support groups, right? But Pakistan does not have that much vibrant existence of the support groups. But I do feel that the social media has changed a lot of dynamics where people can go out there. So how much important do you think that the support groups, or are there the presence of the support groups when it comes to the breast cancer awareness?
Well, it's very, very important. We have our survivor program, so we connect survivors with the patients, because we see that a survivor is a candle of hope for a patient. She can see through her that after all the treatment, the survivor is having a healthy life.
Right.
And then the family support. We fortunately in our society we still have family support there. And so what we say that survivor is not just that one patient. In fact, the whole family is a survivor, because the whole family
has been
go through that trauma and pain and misery. Yes, survivors play a very important role as support group for the patients.
So you mentioned a very particular point where you're involving education institutions and creating awareness as well. As you mentioned, this year's theme is about a healthy lifestyle and fitness and exercise. Even after the pandemic, we've been very serious about how we're living our lives now. What's the way forward right now for Pakistan? Existing right now in the structure, what would you say is still the biggest hurdle that the Pink Ribbon sees right now in Pakistan?
Well, I think changing the mindset of the society. Unfortunately, we are a patriarchal society, and anything to do with women, that becomes an issue. And especially when it comes to women's sexuality, that becomes a bigger issue. So I think we need to work on the mindset of the society, which is a long-term process. Behavior change is a long-term process, but because now we can reduce the risk by 40% with prevention. If early detection is done, survival is possible. Treatment facilities are available, but why still women are not coming and reaching to hospital at time? So that's all to do with our mindset of the society even till today.
That's very important. What's the rate of, if you would also want to inquire that, what's the rate of testing that we can actually, for detection? Obviously it's important to get yourself tested as well. So what's the rate that we're looking for? I know certain medical institutions have also, yearly or monthly have started a campaign where they've offered these services for free, just so that more and more women actually get tested.
I think the first step, the most important step for early detection is self-examination. So all the girls and women, they need to fix one day in a month, and they need to do their own self-examination. That's the first step. You even don't need to go to a doctor or anywhere else. Then after the age of 20, every 2 years, they should go for the clinical examination, and after the age of 40, every 2 years there should be a mammogram. Yes, there is a slight increase in getting mammograms done. In fact, there's been 30% increase in patient turnout in breast clinics since the Pink Ribbon campaign started from 2004. This is a positive sign, but the overall situation of breast cancer is, is such a big issue that we need to have 100% change in this.
Definitely. That's very definitive that we see, and obviously, Hajra, that's why behavioral change is very important.
True, when it comes to that. So we want to incorporate some facts into the narrative of the Pinktober and the breast cancer awareness. So it is said that breastfeeding mothers are at less risk of getting the breast cancer. Is it a true thing?
Well, there is breastfeeding lowers the risk of breast cancer by almost 5%.
Okay.
But then again, the young girls being diagnosed with breast cancer, even not
Have
married.
nothing to do with it, yes.
But yes, breastfeeding is good for mother's health and baby's health, and it lowers the risk by 5%.
Right, wonderful. And going to the early warning system, so what are some of the signs, when it comes to the breast cancer awareness that we should be looking out for?
Indicators.
The first and foremost is if there is a lump in any area of the breast or underarm.
Okay.
That's the first foremost alarming thing, and we see many women, they would notice it and they would ignore it.
Okay.
So that's the first step. Then there can be dimpling or rashes on the breast skin, and there might be some discharge as well. So these are the 3-4 early signs of breast cancer.
The warning signs when we talk about this, and that's why I think self-examination becomes very important.
True. Because I think the bodily changes that you are going through, you are the best person to understand.
To judge them,
yes. If something is wrong within your body. And so, sir, when it comes to that, especially the discourse in the Pinktober and on the breast cancer awareness, what sort of element do you think is missing in Pakistani society apart from the mindset change that we need to focus on in order to have a more broad-ranging discussion on this issue?
So I think there are lots of myths and misconceptions around this issue as well. Again, as I earlier said, we need to see it in a very holistic way. So at one end, there are taboos and myths and misconceptions. On the other hand, we need to see the access to healthcare. We need to we are talking to DRAP to see if we can lower the price of the therapies, because again that's another very big challenge. For example, a complete cycle of chemo will cost not less than 2 million rupees, which is very, very high cost for a normal household.
Yes.
So we need to work seriously on the prevention. We need to work very seriously on the early detection. We need to work on the access to healthcare, and we need to work on the availability of the complete treatment, the therapies.
So, sir, how's the process going? Are we getting people on board who can obviously come towards sponsorship of those treatment and pour in money so that this treatment can be readily available at a low cost? Because obviously right now in Pakistan, we've got a large number of people who are below the poverty line who might not even recognize this disease.
Well, again, it's a slow process, and then again, in Pakistan, at times it's one step ahead and two back, because with all, for example, now this recent flood, it's such a big calamity. So everything has moved towards the flood, and yes, rightly so. But again, as Pink Ribbon, we keep on beating the drum. One another thing I would like to share is that Pink Ribbon is setting up Pakistan's first dedicated breast cancer hospital in Lahore. In fact, one portion of the hospital is complete. We have started the the clinic, we have started the diagnostic services free of cost. And as we speak, we are in the process of the installation of the mammogram facility. And in next 6 to 8 months, this hospital will be providing the complete service, and it's free of cost. It's a charity hospital.
That's a huge leap forward, isn't it, Hajra?
That's true, and I think we need to have more such like of institutions to tackle this very preventable yet deadly disease when it turns into it. So, sir, if someone does get the breast cancer, and of course women are more prone to it, but it's not just limited to women. Men can also get that, right? So obviously we talked about after the chemo or during the chemo they're going through a lot of changes, physical changes, bodily changes, identity changes when it comes to that. So how exactly we should talk to them that should be more sensitive when it comes to that, because of course they're going through a lot when it comes to that.
Well, I think it's lots of counseling, counseling of the patient, counseling of the family members,
right.
Counseling of the family members, how to deal with the patient.
Right.
So that's a quite a, again, of course it's while going through chemo, internally as well externally, women are badly affected. And in fact, that's one of the reasons we see many patients not coming forward for treatment, because they don't want to lose their hair, they whatever they read about chemo. But again, after going through this whole trauma, at the end of the day, they can save their life.
Right.
I think that's what's important. Policy-wise, sir, I must ask you and inquire this on my personal level as well, from my own knowledge and for our viewers. Where do we stand policy-wise? Because one integral part of this entire campaign becomes where we can take those policy decisions that are necessary to make it more effective, have even a more outreach, and obviously I think on one grassroots level, as I always say, at least we've started talking about it. At least PTA has gone to that extent of getting ringtones. Buildings have gone to the extent of changing their colors for this month. So policy-wise, where do we stand?
I think there is a positive tilt towards this whole issue of breast cancer. Now we are talking at the highest level, and things are moving. Things are moving in the right direction. Yes, because there was an economic crisis in the country,
yes,
then the floods. So, but we are very hopeful. Things are moving in the right direction, and we are trying our best to come up with a very holistic approach to address this issue, and again with the support of the government.
Definitely. Hajra, what would you say should be the right case right now for all our viewers watching?
Right.
Well, I mean, how can everybody get involved?
I think the fact that our First Lady is very much involved and invested into cause, I think that's a very good sign, because every year she personally goes out, she addresses the seminars, and I think her husband is also a doctor, so that adds a lot of credence to her campaign when it comes to that, right? And I also wanted to talk about the demographics of the women who are more prone or as a risk factor when it comes to the breast cancer. Since you're dealing with that, you have entire campaign. So would you like to shed some light on the demographics of such kind of women?
Well, again, if we talk about at the national level, so right now, unfortunately, we don't have the cancer registry. But there are some high-risk groups. So women who have family history, they have 5 to 7% higher risk. Obesity is one of the risk factors. Having early periods is a risk. So there are some given risk factors.
That definitely affected as well. But sir, thank you very much for being on the show. It was very insightful. On behalf of the Pink Ribbon and this entire campaign, what message would you like to give out to the fraternity watching right now, and especially how people can on their individual self spread this cause further?
Breast cancer is a disease. We need to just see it as a disease, and we need to separate it from the women's sexuality, so that we can change the mindset in the society.
Definitely.
And early detection is the key for survival.
Definitely. So thank you very much for being on the show. A lot of insight that we've gotten. And of course, I think on a personal level, me and Hajra will always be advocating this, not just on the month of October, but throughout as well. That brings us to the point where we take a short break. But when we come back, we'll have some interesting things to discuss. Stay tuned to World This Morning.